Thank you for tuning in to the MMA Podcast. It is March 8th, 2013. We got a lot to break down. It's the 34th episode. UFC on Fuel 8 was this past Saturday over in Japan. Real exciting main and co-main event there. A couple of knockouts. We got some conspiracy theories on those fights as well. We also got some news to go over. A lot of controversy, this Fallon Fox transgender fighter, that's been what a lot of people have been talking about. Alistair Overeem out with a quote-unquote injury. I want to talk a little tough with the resident tough experts, Ramses. We got a few UFC fight announcements for UFC 161, 162. Let's get to it.
We did it, mama. We did it for the love of the game. We did it, mama. I did it for. Yes, sir. Mama, the game will never be the same. We did it, mama. I did it for.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast with Jake and Chris.
And thank you so much for tuning into the MMA Podcast. You guys are what keep us going. I've said a million times, but we're really overwhelmed by the amount of support and positive feedback we've gotten. So thank you for everybody listening, keeping us going. Shout out to MMA Mental, MMAmental.com. I mean, they probably don't need the shout outs anymore. They're doing huge things. Officially recognized as press by the UFC, getting credentials. They're going to everything from the UFC to the World Series of Fighting to Bama. They're making big waves. They're fucking interviewing 10 people a show. It's ridiculous. We don't have any guests this evening, unfortunately. We're going to try to the next couple weeks. But shout out to MMA Mental. Shout out to the MMA Playground, or MMAPlayground.com. It's not the MMAPlayground.com. But yeah, MMAPlayground.com. It's a great forum. It's the best forum on the internet, and I say that really truthfully. It's fucking awesome. And also, get your picks in. It's a fantasy site as well. Really fun to pick against people. Pick against myself. I usually do goddamn horrible, so you'll probably beat me. Ramses, shout out to the Word on the Street. You're doing huge things with your tough podcast. It's kind of crazy, seeing Coach Jamie Huey on the show. You're pulling fighters left and right. I think you've had, 5 or 6 of the, 14 or 16 total fighters. And almost all of Team Sonnen. What's going on with Word on the Street, brother?
Yeah, Team Sonnen's been very generous. They've been friends of the Word on the Street podcast, which is number one UFC rumor podcast, underground podcast on planet Earth. And the MMA podcast is mainstream, guys, all right? There's a difference.
It's pretty mainstream. I will attest to that. We are mainstream, but we will say fuck more times than the rest of the mainstream. Fucking fuck.
That's right. This place is no holds barred. That's why you have me on here. I can vouch. Look, the Word on the Street, I keep coming on here trying to tell you people, you got to listen this time. All right? I am the bridge. The Word on the Street is the bridge between marijuana and MMA. If you want your life to change, follow me on Twitter, The Aunt Jimmy Show. That's where you get the Word on the Street. Tomorrow I'm going to break some news that you won't even fucking believe, people. So you got to follow me on Twitter to find out what that's going to be. Sometimes I break news before it even happens. Word on the Street.
Word on the Street. I couldn't put it any better myself. Follow him on The Aunt Jimmy Show. The podcast is dope. And, it's good times. Listen to this show, the MMA Podcast, every Friday, 9 to 11 Eastern, 6 to 8 Pacific. Ramses, I don't know if I'm coming through on your headphones at all, but I'm hearing something repeat. Maybe it's on my end. Who knows? All right, UFC on Fuel 8. Yeah, it's a little bit better now. A lot of pretty good. The main and the co-main event were good. You had a lot of boring decisions. I don't know if it's a record, but there were 8 decisions in a row on that card. So the main and co-main made up for it. But we'll start with one of the decisions. Dong Young Kim defeating C.R. Bahadurzada, coming in hot, knocking out Paulo Thiago. Just really did not look as impressive as he did in his UFC debut. And sorry, Ramsey, it's a little awkward, but someone's knocking on my door. So if you could rant on this for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, that'd be great. I have no idea who the hell this is.
Yeah, just make sure you grab a gun before you open that door. That's what I always do.
Always.
I'm from Texas, people. Austin, Texas, straight up. Let me tell you about Yum Yum Kim versus whoever the hell it was. I don't even remember. Yum Yum Kim, I had him solely because he was Asian, and the fight was taking place in Japan. Call that what you will, but, who won the fucking fight? It was a really boring fight. Up until, Yum Yum Kim just turned it up there at the last minute, maybe. He started doing those crazy gorilla hammer slam punches or whatever the fuck he was doing. That was the only exciting part of the fight. Otherwise, it was just a grind. But, Yum Yum Kim, he stole all 3 rounds. I think it was 30-27, unanimous decision. But Jake was mentioning there were 8 decisions. That sounds about right. This card itself was boring as hell. I literally did fall asleep at some point during the main card. But we'll probably get into that later. But Yum Yum Kim, man, the question on this is always, after somebody wins, it's like, where does he go next? But, my question to you is, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Yum Yum Kim, I mean, man, I can't even remember who he was fucking fighting. Yes, I have been smoking tonight before we just got on here live. Yes, I did that. But I remember Brian Stan and Vanderlei Silva fought. I remember that shit. Strunt and Struve, Mark Hunt and Struve, they fought. I don't remember who Yum Yum Kim defeated. That's pretty sad. So whoever that guy was, I'm not saying you're a bum, but if it quacks like a duck, if it's standing out in the street corner with a cup in its hand asking for change,
Shazam, I'm back.
It's probably a bum.
I had to pop somebody. But, we got Yao the Truth calling in. Add him to the call. Yao the Truth, what's going on, my man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
What's happening, Yao?
Good. You watch UFC on Fuel 8, bro?
I did.
What did you think of it?
It was exciting. It was. My favorite fight of the night was Mark Hunt and Stefan Struve. For sure.
Yeah, we'll get to that fight, I guess, in a second. We want to cover those first few. Both CR and Hector Lombard, were both defeated by pretty one-sided decisions. Even though the Hector Lombard fight was a split decision, I think most people thought he lost those 2 rounds. Of the 2, both are pretty similar in the fact that they're known for knocking people out. I guess I'll throw this question out to both of you. Who's going to end up having a more successful UFC career, CR or Hector Lombard? I guess I'll start off with you, Yao.
I have to go with CR. I do. He's a black zillion, so I have to. But Hector Lombard...
This guy with the Black Zillions, man.
Love for the Black Zillions.
I forgot. I forgot.
You were listening to the roundtable last night. There was a lot of Black Zillion hate on that one.
This guy, for the listeners here, Yao, he's probably the biggest Black Zillions fan that I've seen, at least on Twitter. And I don't understand it, especially given, the year 2013. But yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you picked a Black Zillion. Was he the only one that won in the past year?
Haha, very funny.
He may have been, but CR, he says CR, Ramses, what do you think, CR or Hector Lombard?
Oh, man. Well, it's shit. Which bum you gonna give your change to? That's what you're asking me right now. I don't really care about either of these guys, man. Poor showings, boring fighters. They had potential, but Hector Lombard, man, he's just got to worry about not losing his next fight to whoever the fuck it is, or he's gonna get cut. That's for damn sure. Yeah, I don't care what happens to these people, man. I don't care about them. They stink.
Damn, those are harsh words, son. But I don't know. I know, yeah, you're going with CR, but I would say Lombard just because you look at their records before the UFC. Even though both of them are impressive, Lombard was over in Bellator putting people away for a long time. CR didn't exactly have the same sort of sort of, strength of schedule when it comes to the people that he fought. But you have Yushin winning this fight over Hector Lombard. Yushin Okami, after the top three guys in the middleweight division with Chris Weidman, Luke Rockhold, and Vitor Belfort, is Yushin next in the pecking order? I can't think of anybody else I would put above Yushin Okami.
Man, I think Yushin Okami, I thought he was going to totally lose his fucking fight. I had Hector Lombard all the way in this fight. I thought Yushin was going to get knocked out. But no, he grinded it out. He pulled out a little John Fitch impersonation there. But damn, that I gotta say, it was another boring fight, even though Yushin Okami is a good I like him. I like the dude. But he did what he had to do to win against Hector Lombard, make him look like a bum. So props to him for that. But damn, man, this card was weak overall, and Yushin, he did not help at all. Word on the street. What did you think, Yao?
Well, the Hector Lombard and Yushin Okami fight, I mean, I kind of expected it to go that way. I didn't see Yushin Okami getting knocked out. And the thing Hector Lombard has going against him is he's very short for the weight class. And he's a very small guy for the weight class. So he's going to have a harder time getting inside, taking these guys down, because they are taller, so they can sprawl, they can give him problems. So, I mean, the card was fine with me.
Yeah, I really think even though he was on the fourth to last fight, I thought Yushin Okami was the best fighter on the card. The rankings reflect that. He was number 4. The only other ranked fighters on the main card were Hector Lombard and Stefan Struve at number 8 and 9 respectively. So he was number 4 going into it. I don't think this vaults him any higher, but I don't think there's really any fights that make sense for him right now. Everyone else up there at middleweight sort of tied up in a fight. So, I don't want to see Silva versus Yushin too, because Silva absolutely demolished him in the first fight. So let's see Yushin fight, for a number 1.
Second fight.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's right. The first fight was a DQ before the UFC, but let's see Yushin fight somebody like Rockhold or Weidman maybe after Silva hands him his ass and get knocked out, back down the pecking order. We'll move on, I guess, to the lightweight bout between Diego Sanchez and Takanori Gomi. A lot of people thought Gomi got robbed. Do you all share that thought? I think Gomi won. It was a shame to see him lose a controversial decision in front of his home crowd. What did you guys think? Yao, you think Diego won or the Fireball Kid Gomi won?
I had Gomi winning, honestly, and that fight made me not like Diego Sanchez even more, because I had Takanori Gomi winning, and I don't like anybody out of Greg Jackson's camp, so I was pissed off, honestly. I really was. And Diego Sanchez looked like a bum. I never want to see him fight again. And the fact that he wants to fight Nate Diaz, that got me even more upset. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah, did fucking Diego Sanchez, did he even come out yelling yes again? Was he like yelling it again? Did they even show his walkout? I don't remember.
I don't think they showed the walkouts on the U.S. fuel feed.
Yeah, basically, it's kind of fuzzy because at this point, I was starting to fall asleep, and during this fight, I did fall asleep. I woke back up because the crowd was like booing or something weird, and then I saw on Twitter or whatever the fuck that he had apparently gotten robbed. I rewatched the fight. I agree with that assessment. Nevertheless, do I give a shit? Hell no. Diego Sanchez, he's got to go, man. He's got to go. Yeah, I summed it up, man. I was not impressed with this fucking fight. I literally fell asleep during it. So that tells you all you need to know. That's the word on the street.
Yeah, this wasn't a very entertainment fight. So I guess we'll move on. Last one we want to talk about is not the last one. Second to last, Mark Hunt and Stefan Struve. That was a great fight. Struve, a lot of people thought Struve was going to win. Struve, a much bigger opponent, at least height-wise, 7 feet tall. The Mark Hunt's 5'11". But Struve got knocked the fuck out. There's an amazing picture that catches the left hand that literally cracked Stefan Struve's jaw in half. He put the picture on Twitter. Gnarly picture. If you go ahead and check out his Twitter, take a look. Yeah, it's not just one of those hairline type fractures you see on like an arm break or something. It's his jaw broken into 2 pieces, like a couple inches to the right of the chin. Not a good time. What did you guys think about that fight? I guess this puts Mark up in the heavyweight elite, the top 10 for sure. I think he's number 9 now after that fight. Struve down to number 10. But apparently he was offered a fight against Dos Santos. We'll talk about that a little later in the show. He said he's never turned down a fight. Dana said he turned the fight down, so someone's lying. But yeah, we'll talk about the fight first. Hunt, Struve, what'd you guys think? I'll start off with you, Yao.
That fight was fight of the night to me. That fight was crazy. Like, I was screaming when Struve went down. I was a little confused about the KO at first, but after they replayed it, I was like, it was a good decision. But yeah, I feel sorry for Stefan Struve's jaw. I mean, after the X-ray picture, I felt really bad. I've never seen a jaw broken like that. Like, it wasn't even just a fracture. It looked like it was completely separated. But yeah, I was happy for Mark Hunt. I was rooting for him the whole time. He was able to counter Stefan Struve in a way that I didn't even think he could. Stefan Struve he had the reach advantage. He had the height advantage. He should just use his jab, use his kicks, keep him on the outside. He looked like he didn't even know what to do during the fight. So I guess he'll just learn from that knockout to use your strengths. But that's what I thought.
Mark Hunt cracked that man's skeleton in half at the faceplate level. It was pretty damn impressive. The first couple rounds of this fight, though, I was still asleep. Woke back up and fell right back asleep. And then towards the end, I woke up just right to catch all the exciting parts, which was basically that fucking punch from Mark Hunt, man. Remember before the UFC 148, Anderson Silva was threatening Chael Sonnen on that conference call or whatever, and he was like, I'm going to break his face. Whatever the fuck he was saying, I'm going to break his face. Well, Mark Hunt literally broke this man's face. He broke his fucking face in half. So that was cool. But this fight, up until then, I was not impressed. What I did see, I think Mark Hunt looks a little slow and not really technical. I don't see him going much further in this. So I'm not riding that damn Mark Hunt freight train that bandwagon that everybody's on. I don't believe it at all. He'll probably get knocked out in the next fight.
For sure. And before we go into the main event, we actually just had somebody tweet in saying that he tried to call in, it wasn't letting him call. I know, Yao, you had the same problem before. I just looked into it, and actually the problem was I thought buying Skype credit would, keep my number active, but I had to pay a different fee just for the number itself. I just paid that fee literally just now. So, the guy who just tweeted at us, if you want to try the number again now, it should work. But yeah, I got that figured out. Skype nickeling a dime in me here. But
what is that? What is that number, Jake? What is that number?
That number would be area code 213-457-3380. If you're listening right now, the number is 213-457-3380. We love chatting it up with people live, calling in, taking opinions. Even if it's a random news story we weren't going to cover, just call in. We'll chat about it. And yep, it looks like he's trying to call in. It's working. Add you to the call. What's going on, buddy?
Not much. I'm just listening to the show right now.
What's happening?
Yeah. What's your name, man?
Ali, like the fighter, you know what I'm saying, the boxer.
Ali. True. Yeah, you were the guy who just tweeted in, I'm assuming. Yeah. Before we go on to Silva Stan and hear Ramsey's take on it, what do you think of Mark Hunt versus Stefan Struve?
I didn't really get to watch the fight, but I just went on YouTube. I seen he hit him with a good shot, pretty much. Stephen Struve, lately, from what I've seen, he gets knocked out by a lot of people. I don't know. Mark Hunt does too.
We'll actually pass it off to you and Yao, see if there's any news topics you guys called in to talk about specifically. But first, we got to talk about the main event of Saturday's card. Vanderlei Silva defeating Brian Stann. It was a hell of a fight. I hate you, Ramses. We talked about it on the round table. I hate you for planting that seed in the back of my head of you were saying it was going to be a great fight, but a work, and Vanderlei would win. You called it. It was an amazing fight. Vanderlei did win. He won via KO punches, second round, 408. A lot of people are calling for Vanderlei to retire, even though he won, just to say he can get out on top. But, Ramses, I know you've got a lot of speculations on this fight, so I'll pass it off to you.
There is no speculation. We all saw it with our very own eyes, people. And call me a conspiracy theorist. I know I've gotten a lot of hate mail. People are saying some terrible things about me because, I'm just calling this main event for what it was. Stann versus Silva. Brian Stann took a dive. This was a work. It was a rigged fight. It was a thrown match. He went out on a fake knockout, people. You understand? Brian Stann, we all love him to death. He's the all-American hero. Except guess what, guys? He was born in Japan. And he paid homage to his hometown, his home country, whatever the hell they call it, the land of the rising sun, alright? The prodigal son came back. It was Brian Stann. And they sacrificed him up to Vanderlei Silva, alright? Here's the deal as far as I can put it together. This is what happened. This is all alleged, of course. This is just the word on the street. Basically, the day Brian Stann landed in Japan, he gets into his hotel room, something seems amiss. There's a laptop sitting there on the desk. He's like, what the hell? This ain't my laptop. He opens the laptop, sees a Skype call, Skype video session. It's his family all tied up and whatnot. And then, there's a knock on the door. Guess who it is? I'm not naming names, alright? Alright? You might say, look, the Yakuza was all over this.
But he's bald and owns a 9% share in the UFC.
Look, I'm not naming names here, except for Brian Stann, who did take the dive. Everyone saw it. Alright? Look, the Yakuza, man, they don't fuck around over there in Japan. They wanted it to be a little old-school pride event, and they wanted Wandy to win, just like old times. Vanderlei Silva doesn't even know that it was a work. He doesn't know that Brian Stann went out on a fake knockout. But we all saw it. Everyone's doubting me because you don't want to believe that, the UFC's rigged. But believe it, folks. You saw it, and I called it. That's the word on the street.
Jesus Christ. Heavy words about the main event maybe being a work. I'll pass it off to Ali first. Do you think there's any chance that was a work? I'm sure you love the fight, but what do you think about that take?
I'll put it like this. From what I heard they were going back and forth. It really surprised me that Brian Stann got knocked out. I don't think he took the fall. Vanderlei looked ripped as hell. I thought he was on roids or something, I don't know what the hell's going on. Like, he kind of reminded me of Vitor, how he's on roids and shit, but I think he just hit him with a clean one and just dropped off American. Just like that.
Do you still want to see Vanderlei stick around in the UFC for a while longer, or do you think it's high time to get the fuck out while he's on top?
Vanderlei, he's fucking ugly. He's fucking old. I think it's time for him to go.
For sure, Yao. I'll throw the same two questions in your court. Do you think it was a work, and what do you think Vanderlei should do after this fight?
First, I have to say, Ramses, that was hilarious. I mean, 2 weeks before the fight started, I already saw him tweeting about it being a conspiracy, how he knew there was a work going down. It seems like every event, Ramses see a work going down. But honestly, the fight was great. I enjoyed it. I mean, I put some money down on Vanderlei. I'm not gonna lie, I did, and I won some money. And as far as it being a work, I'd like to believe so because Ramses said it was, but and he has the word on the street. So, and do I want to see him stick around? He should just retire. He should. I mean, he looked good at 205. He didn't look drained like he usually does at 185, but I'd like to just see him retire. Why not? Why not retire on the win? Because you don't know who they're going to make him fight. And if he beat Brian Stan, I mean, he could be fighting anybody, and he should just go out on a win.
I guess, Ramses, I'll put the same question in your court. Not whether you agree with yourself, but what you think Vanderlei should do moving on after defeating Brian Stan.
Well, he should be very careful about taking his next fight. Like I said, he doesn't know that Brian Stan went out on the fake knockout. He thinks he thinks he's back. He thinks he's good. Just like he used to think he was good back in the Pride days. Those were works too. But Vanderlei Silva, hopefully he doesn't get too cocky, tries to bite off more than he can chew. The UFC, now they're done with him. They've cashed in on his ass in Japan. They'll probably throw him to the wolves here with somebody that'll just nail his ass. As far as who that'll be, not sure. But it should be a big name fight. Maybe Chael will, just entertain the thought of defending his championship against this bum, knocking his ass out. Who knows?
I don't know if they'd be giving a title shot to Vanderlei anytime soon, but I like what Ray said on yesterday's roundtable about how Vanderlei, there's no chance he gets to a title shot after this. So just give him show fights. Let him fight with dudes who are going to throw and swing with him, like Brian Stan. That was an amazing fight. We need to see more of that. I guess that wraps up UFC on Fuel 8. So, without any further ado, let's get into the news. Alright, let that little news clip play. Yeah, and, we've got a few news items picked out first. But really, because there weren't too many things to talk about, we'll pass it off to Yao and Ali first. I'll throw it off to you, Yao. Were there any UFC bits of news that really stood out for you this week that you wanted to talk about on the show?
Yes. Alistair Overeem, fellow Blackzilian, is injured. He will not be facing Junior Dos Santos. That's the only thing I'm worried about right now. Really, but I'll talk about anything. I'm here.
That was one of the things we were planning on talking about. So we'll lead off with it. Alistair Overeem out 4 to 5 weeks with a reported quadriceps tear. The fight against Junior Dos Santos is going to be in the summer. I do want to talk about the whole Mark Hunt issue because there's definitely a lot of stuff surrounding that. Dana White went on Twitter saying that he offered the fight against Cigano to Mark Hunt, and Mark Hunt declined it. He said, very clearly that Hunt turned down a fight against Junior Dos Santos. Mark Hunt went on to say that he didn't decline any fights. So, we've seen this happen before. I don't know which party is bullshitting, which is telling the truth. We will get to that after we talk about the injury, but I want to talk about the injury. Another bit of bad news coming out of the Blackzilians camp. I'm sorry, Yao, but your boys are not holding it down. They're losing a bunch of fights. They're getting injured. A lot of speculation that this quote-unquote injury was just maybe because he wasn't going to be able to cycle off of the roids before this UFC 160 fight against Cigano. I'll ask Ramses first, I guess, because I know he's always got a strong opinion to lead off. What do you think about this Overeem injury? You think it's an injury, overtraining? Does this give more of an advantage to Overeem or Junior Dos Santos with there being a few more months of training now, training and preparation involved for this fight? I'll start off with Ramses and pass it over to Ali.
I almost killed myself when they announced the Overeem was injured news. That's bullshit, man. Sad for Overeem, man. He can't catch a fucking break, it seems. That poor son of a bitch. But shit. And then the worst part was people started talking about Mark Hunt like fighting JDS. Look, people. Let's wake up here. Nobody wants to see Mark Hunt versus JDS. Nobody wants to see Dos Santos versus Mark Hunt. Not when you can have Overeem versus Dos Santos. Mark Hunt, who the fuck is Mark? He's a bum that they brought back, all right? And he got lucky against a guy who's not that very good.
He's BJ Penn's fat uncle.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he's been stuffing his face with big kahuna burgers. He looks like that type. You're right. Yeah, man. I don't see why everybody's just thinking he's the next coming of Christ. He's not. So yeah, I'd say wait the extra fucking 4 weeks. Let Overeem recover, and then let's see the fucking war that we all want to see. It's a people's fight, man. This is the one that people want to see. That's the word on the street. Fuckers.
What do you think, Ali?
Well, Overeem, let's let him heal, you know. I didn't really want to see him fight Dos Santos. I thought, like, maybe Dos Santos should fight Mark Hunt or Big Country. I'm leaning more towards Big Country. And then have him fight Mark Hunt when he comes back just for a moment for another knockout highlight reel. Then come in there with the big Dos Santos fight, headline pay-per-view. Those are the fights, Cain Velasquez. There you go.
Hell, yeah, and I guess I'll pass it off to Yao. You're the one who brought it up. Yao, is your boy Overeem on steroids? Did he really tear his quad? What's the deal coming out of the Black Zillions camp? Come on, son. You with us, Yao?
Give me a sec. Hello?
All right, Yao's running from the cops. There he is.
I'm here. All right. First of all, you cannot fake an injury in the UFC. They have their own doctors that, you know, they take you to, so you can't fake an injury. So whoever's saying that should just kill themselves.
Tell that to Pedro Nobre.
Oh shit.
Yeah. You can't fake an injury. They have their own doctors that they take you to. So there's no faking injuries. Is he on steroids? No. He got popped for elevated levels of testosterone. So I don't know why steroids are still in the conversation. And, okay, he tore his quad. Okay, he'll recover. He'll get back into training. He'll fight Dos Santos. He'll beat him. And that's the end.
You know, you ask why steroids is in the conversation. If Alistair Overeem just woke up and poured himself a bowl of Cocoa Puffs, steroids would still be in the conversation. Alistair Overeem, you know, now with Brock Lesnar out of the game, Alistair Overeem is the UFC's juice monkey, far and away. Just look at the time lapse between, I think it was like 2006 and 2010 when he went from a middleweight to a heavyweight. Just like watching him, literally, it looked like you stuck a little needle you pump up a basketball with. You just stuck it in both of his chest muscles and pumped him up until he like turned into this giant monster of a heavyweight. But you know, I don't know if he is taking substances or not. It would be retarded to do so at this point because you know he's been popped once in training. And like I've heard from a lot of doctors, you've already done the steroids, so they've already sort of done their work. You're kidding yourself if you don't think Overeem's done it. But I do know what you're saying, Yao. I'm half joking when I'm saying the injury is faked. I do really think the reason this fight's going to be postponed is an injury. But that speculation's always going to be there as far as him taking steroids. I guess before we move on to another news topic, really bluntly, because it's something that I've talked to other people with, is Alistair Overeem still on the juice? Ramses?
Of course, man. The juice is loose. Who knows why he popped with low levels? I guess he was too paranoid, cycled off a little too quick. He didn't want to fuck this up, and but he really fucked up because we all saw the fight. He got knocked out by the missing link. All right, poor fucking Overeem, man. Like I said, he cannot catch a break. This injury, I believe it. It's probably real. I don't know, or maybe they showed up, and they handed him a cup to piss in, and he was. All of a sudden, his fucking quad's torn. Who knows? I just want to see him fight Dos Santos. That fucking fight has to happen. I can't stress that enough. Get the hell out of here, Mark Hunt and Big Country, and even Cain Velasquez, man. I don't even believe he won that last fight either. But I won't get back on conspiracy theories again. I'll just hand the mic back off to Mr. J.
Ali, what do you think? You think Reem juiced in the past? You think he's juicing now?
Oh yeah, it was weird. I'm not trying to go into a story here, but, like, I seen the video of Shogun Knockout Ring, and he looked way small and compared to what he is now. And it's like he's gigantic WWE type stuff. I'm like, what the hell? You don't get big just that fast, man. He definitely took roids, and that's why he was out for a year. I think he should do it again. Hell, it would be stupid, but hey, it would add more controversy.
For sure, and it would be unfair without leaving it to Yao. You think he rose up the ranks legitly? You think he juiced in the past? You think he's juicing it all now?
I have nothing to say on the topic.
No comment. Pleading the Fifth Amendment. I plead the Fifth. All right, we will move on. Did you have any news topics you wanted to bring up, Ali?
I like the fight between Stephen Thompson and Amir Sadallah and Glover Teixeira, Ryan Bader. I think those are two good ones coming up at 160.
Ooh, we should. Yeah. Let's talk about both of those fights at UFC 160. That's going to be Velasquez versus Bigfoot 2, May 25th. It's a little ways off, but still fun to talk about. I guess we'll start with that welterweight fight first. You got one of the more boring fighters, Amir Sadallah versus Stephen Thompson. I really want Stephen Thompson to win. He's super exciting, that knockout of Dan Stitgen that I think it was called the Moneymaker combo, the 1-2 and the kick. Beautiful. He's undefeated in karate, but I don't know if he's going to be able to stop Amir Sadallah just from putting him on his ass. What do you think, Yao?
I wish I didn't know who Amir Sadallah is, and I mean, I really don't care about this fight. I really don't. But if I had to put some money down, I'd probably put it on Stephen Thompson. That's it.
Yeah, man, I gotta say, I gotta agree with you out here, man. This fight ain't happening for me yet. It sounds like, I don't even have to look at the record. This sounds like one of those loser leaves town matches, Somebody loses, they'll probably get cut because I've never even fucking, I've vaguely heard of them, and that ain't enough these days. Mm-mm.
All right, well, what do you think, man? Ali, I guess we'll start off with that one fight of Amir versus Stephen Thompson. You think Thompson's gonna be able to get through Amir Sadallah?
Yeah, I think Amir has 4 losses in the UFC. I mean, he's lost to Johnny Hendricks, Yum Kim, Dwayne Ludwig, Dan Hardy, and he's beaten nobodies. I think, and that was Stephen Thompson. He's training hard out here, and, I think he's a martial arts master. I think he's just going to go out there, knock him out, like he did Stickin with a kick or some crap, I think it's just a highlight reel, just another warm-up fight for him to get used to being in the UFC again, even though he just lost to Matt Brown, but I don't know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he did just lose to Dan Hardy. It's kind of funny looking at his record. He's one of these rare guys who all 10 of his fights are in the UFC, and I think it probably his most impressive win was his professional debut against C.B. Dalloway back in 2008 at the tough finale of the tough season that he was in. This really could go either way. I'm going to be rooting for Stephen Thompson, but, Thompson he did not look good whatsoever in his fight against Matt Brown. I don't think that Sadallah is going to come at him with the takedown power that Matt Brown came at him with, but still, if Thompson hasn't improved his takedown defense, he's in for a long night. The other one, Glover Teixeira, Ryan Bader. I like this fight a lot. I think if Glover Teixeira would have won his fight against Rampage Jackson a little more impressively, he would have gotten a better opponent than Ryan Bader. A lot of people were expecting him to just knock out uninspired Rampage Jackson early in the fight, and it ended up going a full 15 minutes. Especially after Glover just put it to Fabio Maldonado and Kyle Kingsbury. People were expecting another beatdown. Ryan Bader, he's really only lost, throwing out that weird enigma of a fight. That was the Tito Ortiz loss. His only losses are Jones and Machida. He's looked good. He beat Vladimir Matyushenko early in the first round, 50 seconds. I think it was the fastest submission in the light heavyweight division's history. Looking good. This is definitely going to be the hardest test for Glover Teixeira. I guess I'll throw it back around the other way. We'll start off with Ali. What do you think is going down with Glover Teixeira, Ryan Bader? Teixeira is probably going to be a heavy favorite, but what do you think is going to go down?
I like the way that one is, the fight. Ryan Bader, he's got heavy hands. Glover does too. But he hasn't really had that spectacular knockout yet. I think Ryan Bader, I'm aiming more towards him. He could use his good wrestling from Arizona. Glover, I don't know if he really has a ground game, but Rampage, I kind of seen him winning anyway, because Rampage, he's kind of like one-dimensional fighter.
What do you think,
Ryan Bader, he's kind of been on excuse me, sorry.
Oh,
No. Sorry, I thought you were done talking. You can finish.
I forget it. I forgot where I was at.
Sorry, brother.
It happens. Yeah, this fucking fight. Glover versus Ryan Bader. The battle of Rampage's leftovers. That's what it is to me. These guys were not impressive when they fought Rampage. It was bullshit. I don't expect anything out of this fight either. Glover doesn't impress me. He did a good job pulling his punches against Rampage. That was interesting to see. But this fight's not doing anything for me. Basically, that's why they put him up against a guy like Rampage, man. These guys are approaching bum status now from what I've seen in their last fights. Bum status. Yes, they deserve to die. I hope they burn in hell.
What do you think, Yao?
I gotta agree with Ramses. I really don't care about this fight. I just want to see Ryan Bader come in, use his wrestling, just take down Glover Teixeira. I don't like Glover Teixeira. I don't like Ryan Bader, but I would like to see Glover Teixeira lose. But I really don't care about this fight. I really don't.
Damn, son. Well, we'll move on, I guess, to a couple other news topics we wanted to cover. Another one we spent a little bit of time talking about last night. This Fallon Fox lady, I guess, lady, a transgender fighter trying to get her women's MMA license. A lot of people are on different sides of the fence on this. A lot of people, obviously, one side thinking that, she is a woman now, she should be able to fight women's MMA. The other side thinking, well, it's not as simple as that. I guess before I voice my thoughts on it, I'll let you all chat about it. Ramses, my co-host tonight on the MMA podcast, I'll start off with you. What do you think about all of this crazy shit surrounding Fallon Fox trying to get licensed as a professional fighter in women's mixed martial arts?
Look, if you're an MMA fighter and you want to fight this thing, feel free. If you sign up and sign the dotted line to, just swing away with, him or her, no disrespect, but this is all fucked up, man. This is some fucked up shit, to quote the great Nick Diaz. I don't really. I mean, I was thinking, don't let it in. Get this thing out of here. But now I'm thinking, if someone wants to fight this person and signs up, at least now they know what they're getting into. So if you're a woman and you want to go up against Fox, whatever her name is, Fallon Fox, right? Fox Fallon, whatever. If you want to fight the power or whatever, and you sign that fucking dotted line and you're a chick and you get your fucking ass knocked out by this man, that's on you. I'm not going to feel bad for you. So that's where I stand as far as this individual person goes. Since this fighter, this trans whatever came out, that's fine. If you want to sign up and fight her, that's fine. But if you're keeping it secret, or if you're gonna allow this thing to go undisclosed, then you're fucking up, because you're just gonna see dudes just cut their dicks off and then start fighting, and then juice back up to the point to where they're just men without a dick. And then they're going to start knocking the hell out of women. That's exactly what's going to happen. That is the word on the street. But I'm washing my hands of all of this shit right here, and I'll pass the mic.
Oh, shit. Yao, what do you think about this shit?
That was hilarious. But hey, look, if a person wants to fight, like Ramsey said, if a person wants to fight, okay, sign the dotted line, fight. Like I wrestled in high school. I had to wrestle 2 girls throughout my high school career, so it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they're both humans. Whatever if she wants to be a male, female, whatever, let her fight. Do whatever she wants. It's a business, so there should be no discrimination at this point.
All right. I'll pass it off to Ali. What do you think?
I just learned about this story this week, really 2 days ago, and I'm just blown away. I'm thinking, what the hell? I think it makes it look bad for MMA as a fan. I'm thinking for the appeal to the new fans watching MMA, you hear about a transgender fighter who's trying to knock women the fuck out. I'm like, what the hell? This just ain't right. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand the women coming in. They see Ronda Rousey already submitting everybody right. And then you see this transgender bastard coming in there knocking everybody out. I'm like, what the hell? It just don't even look right to me. I don't think it should be allowed. I think it makes MMA look bad, actually. No offense to that person, but,
Word.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know a couple of people, actually both back from Gainesville, where I went to college at UF. Knew a couple of transgendered people, both in my job over at Jimmy John's. And, I respected them both. Both called them, by he or she. They both were transgender in different ways. And I, respected everything, because when it comes down to it, I'm not a doctor. I don't have a clipboard in front of me. It's not my job to say, you have a penis, you have a vagina, you were born with this chromosome, so no, I'm going to call you a he. I don't care if you want to be called a she, because you were born with this, so no way. I will respect that. But it crosses a line when you want to get the transgender surgery and then start fighting people of the opposite sex. I mean, it's a gray area when it comes to every other athletic, whether it's sprinting, whether it's basketball. I don't care. You will have a little bit of advantage, and even though I've heard, I think Steffi Daniels recently interviewed a transgender doctor, who said, well, that person is chemically and biologically a female after they take the hormones, etc., etc. It's still it's still murky waters the way I look at it, because I'll respect you and call you whatever you want to be called, but when it comes down to it, I'm not cool with a guy getting transgender surgery to become a woman and then knocking women out. I mean, it's no different than any of us doing the same. And who says some certain surgery makes it ethical that we can go around marching around and knocking women out in competition? It's not cool. But if it is sanctioned, it's a step in a direction, and I don't know if it is the wrong direction, because I'm not, God, I don't have the right way every time, but just the way that I see it, I'm a little uncomfortable with it. And I don't really know if there's any more room, anything else to talk about, so we'll move on. Before Ramses and I get to the fights we're pumped about, and Yao and Ali, go ahead and look at that 158 card, that UFC 158 card, and give a thought about what fight you're pumped for most, because we're about to do a little bit on the fights we're pumped for on that card. We do the fights we're pumped for the most every month at the beginning of the month, and being that UFC 158 is the only March card remaining, it's got to be from that card. So go ahead and look at it. Obviously, lots of good fights. You got GSP Condit, you got GSP Diaz, Hendricks Condit, Ellenberger Marquardt, a bunch of others. But before we get to the fights we're pumped for, I want to talk a little bit about The Ultimate Fighter, Episode 7 was just this past Tuesday, and it looks like now both of Jon Jones, big guys in his camp, Clint Hester and Bubba McDaniels, going down in the first round. Jimmy Quinlan defeating Clint Hester. Things not going well for Team Jones. I think they're 2-5 against Team Sonnen. Team Sonnen doing excellent. Uriah Hall separating himself. I definitely want to talk about the Uriah Hall thing before I sort of do a little roundtable thing like we've been doing tonight to talk about Uriah Hall. Ramses, you're our resident expert on Tough 7. You have a show dedicated to the Tough Recap that I've been co-hosting on the last couple weeks. It's really fun. You got Coach Jamie Huey from the show. You're getting cast members from the show, multiple cast members from the show, it seems like, every week. What's going on with Tough, and how are you digging this season?
This is, the best season of The Ultimate Fighter there's been in a long time. Highest ratings are getting 1.2 million, 1.3 average viewers per week, per episode. That is an excellent success for the UFC, and it's all because of one man, Chael P. All right, Team Sonnen already coming through with victory after victory. Johnny Bones Jones' team falling apart. You look at those guys, you see nothing, man. No synergy. Nothing. Their coach, he's just stumbling around drunk half the time, just fucking everything up. Just picking matchups that don't even make any fucking sense. And then his boys lose, and he's sitting there trying to tell them like they did something wrong when he fucking mismatched it to begin with. He's like a retarded Joe Silva, man. It's ridiculous. Jon Jones, you got to get it together, Bones, you son of a bitch. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, Tough. Uriah Hall, dude. He looked like a douchebag in the last episode. But as Coach Jamie, the living legend Huey, revealed on the podcast, he said that really Uriah Hall just was not feeling well that day. He was fucking sick that night, so that's why he was off on his lonesome there, just drinking bullshit, not swilling beer down on wings, slapping chicks on the ass. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was the word on the team on that one. But yeah, so far so good on this Tough season. I'm very impressed. I'm watching it all. Follow the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter, and your life is going to be changed.
Every day. Ali, you liking this season of The Ultimate Fighter? You been keeping up with it?
I'm about to let you guys down on this one. I have not been able to watch no episodes. I've only seen the knockout episode. I'm pissed off, about it. I got a little situation, fucking homework and shit. You know how it goes. And I never get to watch it, so I'm just pissed off. I'm just hearing Uriah Hall. He's like separating himself from like everybody else from like different reasons. I don't know. I'm just pissed off right now.
Stay on your grind, man. I know all too well about that homework game. 16 hard years of it. God, I just graduated. I just graduated this past just a couple months ago in December, and I can say fuck homework as well.
I gotta say something.
Go
Ali,
ahead,
you're fucking up, man. You're fucking up, Ali. You're sitting there doing homework. Listen to me. You gotta close that homework. Close the books right now. Sell that fucking homework. Sell your books right now. Go buy yourself a TV and watch The Ultimate Fighter on FX every Tuesday. Word on the street.
Or do that. What do you think about this season of The Ultimate Fighter? You been digging it?
Yeah, I have. I've been watching every single episode. I like it. It's still not my favorite season though. My favorite season is Mayhem and Bisping. That season had me crying, laughing, I should say, every Friday. It was hilarious. But I do enjoy this season. I don't want to say Jon Jones is a bad coach, but Chael Sonnen is the greater coach, as you can see. I don't know why Jon would let his number one pick, Clint Hester, fight towards the end. Like, why wouldn't you take your number one pick and put him against, like, if you look at Chael, he took Luke and he took Uriah, which were his top picks, and made them fight early. You can, weed them out, see who you want to get to the next round. Jon waits out on Clint Hester, and then he loses. But, and Uriah Hall, I like what he's becoming. I do. He's the best fighter in the house. He can do whatever he wants. Nobody can tell him anything. He can do whatever he wants. I like it. At first, I was like, why is he doing this? But as it went on, I kind of like it.
Yeah, and Ramses, it's your show, so I'll let you talk about it. Zach Cummings had some interesting info on Uriah Hall and what he was thinking coming into the house and how that differed from what actually happened after the first couple episodes went by.
Yeah, I have a feeling it might not be all clever editing to make Uriah look a little removed from the team there, among other things. But yeah, Zach actually had quite a few tidbits for us as far as Tough is concerned. You should all check out the interview and check out his fight. He's coming up against some bum from Team Jones. I believe he's going to defeat that man, and then we're off to the fucking there's going to be some twisted ass news also on the Ultimate Fighter concerning the wild card. But yeah,
Josh Salmon, what?
Who knows, man? Who knows? Oh yeah, Zach Cummings also revealed that he was the guy that fucked up Josh Salmon's leg, sent him to the hospital for that near amputation. That was good. But yeah, Tough. Watch it Tuesday night.
Yeah, you got Josh Salmon in the hospital. We aren't sure if he's going to stay in the show or not. The amount of time they spent on him in the hospital is leading me to believe that he is going to have to back out. The wild card spot's going to be up to somebody who's going to get it. Bubba, Clint Hester, could it be Tortrong? I'm guessing it would be a Team Jones person because Salmon is on Team Jones. They'd probably give it to somebody on Team Jones. Plus, Team Jones really didn't do that well, so they probably want to balance it out some more. So it would probably be Bubba or Clint Hester. I would guess that the wild card would go to Bubba McDaniel. But, we'll see on the Tough coming up, and I guess, that kind of exhausts everything we're talking about Tough, before we talk about Nick Diaz and that ridiculous-ass conference call, let's do up the fights we're pumped for this month. The month of March, February 2013. Alright, Jesus Christ, March 2013, I'm high as fuck. Alright, fights I'm pumped for. I'm going to start it off. Darren Cruikshank versus John McDessie. And I know you're thinking, what the fuck? You just picked Darren Cruikshank and John McDessie? There are 3 amazing welterweight fights on this card. I'm not looking forward to Darren Cruikshank versus John McDessie because I think it's going to be a close fight. In fact, I'm looking forward to it for the opposite reason. I think it's going to be an execution. Darren Cruikshank is the best up-and-coming lightweight in the UFC. He's got kicks for days. He's going to brutalize John McDessie. Knees to the body, liver shots with the shin. He's going to get another head kick KO as he quickly moves up the lightweight division. I cannot wait for Cruikshank versus McDessie. UFC 158. It's going to be the first fight on FX. Tune into FX Saturday, March 16th, 8 o'clock Eastern, to see a fucking execution. Ramses?
I got a beef with fucking Carlos Condit. I want to see him get knocked the fuck out by Johnny Hendricks, alright? That's the fight that I'm looking forward to the most in this month, alright? That's the fight I want to see. Nate Diaz and GSP, they can go to hell. I want to see Condit get what's coming to him. Basically, he dropped the belt to GSP in another fixed fight, another work. GSP's comeback, was glorious. 5 full rounds, to Condit never pulling the trigger, pulling all his punches, never attacking GSP's bad knee, or even threatening anything of that nature. So yeah, Condit, you took a dive. I don't respect you because of that. So I'm looking forward to this fight just because I want to see him just get flattened. I want to see him just reconsider the business. All right, I want Condit to walk away from this fight thinking, oh man, when it's not a work, I don't know if I can take this. Maybe he'll realize that deep down he's a coward. Word on the street.
Ali, what fight are you pumped for off UFC 158?
I'm for GSP, Nick Diaz. I'm from Sacramento, California, so it's not too far from Stockton. I'm riding on the straight-up hood bastard, Nick Diaz, you know what I'm saying? GSP, I heard about the conference call. Someone else saying that he has horrible trash-talking skills. I'm like, God damn, dude. What the fuck? But Nick Diaz, I like his boxing. He's a guy to win, GSP. He can take him down with his great wrestling, getting in dominant positions, but he has to be aware of Nick Diaz's great jiu-jitsu, Other than that, I would also like to see that Ellenberger-Marquardt fight. I like how Marquardt's at 170 now. He's pretty big, for 170. He kind of reminds me of Anthony Johnson from I don't know. And Ellenberger, I think for him to be Nate Marquardt, that would be that would send a message to the rest of the division that he's for real, that he wants the belt, That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, he actually was originally slated to fight Anthony Johnson in the fight that ended up turning into Rick Story versus Charlie Brenneman. The beginning of what has been a long saga on TRT. That was really the first we heard of it. Marquardt kicked out of the UFC. Crazy stuff. It's good to see him back. He's one of my favorite fighters. What fight are you looking forward to? Or fights?
My favorite fighter, George St-Pierre versus Nick Diaz. Man, hearing the conference call, I was already pumped from the beginning, but hearing the conference call just made it even better. I mean, that fight is going to be truly, truly amazing. George St-Pierre will win. He will advance to 24-2. No questions, no doubt about it. Can't wait. March 16th, get the pay-per-view. That's it, man.
Damn, yeah, and that wraps up the fights we're pumped for, and it actually segues really well into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is that conference call we all talked about. You mentioned GSP going for his 8th title defense since winning it back from Matt Serra. And this conference call, we heard probably both Nick Diaz and GSP more pumped up than we've ever heard them. It all started off pretty innocently. A reporter asked Nick Diaz about, the fact that he was being a no-show to some camera events, and Dana was complaining, saying that it cost him $50,000 to send out a camera crew, and then the Diaz brothers no-show it, and it's really disappointing. Diaz was asked about it, and I'll play Diaz if I could get a little bad GSP from Ramses, but yeah, Diaz asked about not showing up, saying, "Man, I could give a fuck if any." Wait, you know what? Actually, before I get into my Diaz impression, somebody's calling up. I'm going to add him to the call. All right, who do we have joining us? What's up, man?
Okay, my name is Jorge from Quebec.
Jorge from Quebec. This sounds exactly like Ramses, and I think it might be him calling in on a different line.
No, I don't know who that person is. I don't know about that. My name is Jorge from. I called in to talk about the press conference.
Oh wait, yeah, Ramses is actually still on the call. I guess this isn't Ramses. Jorge calling in from Quebec. Yeah, we're talking about Nick Diaz. Yeah, what do you think about Diaz saying George is pampered? I don't give a shit. George, you have people running your Twitter. You got people running your finances and shit. You got people pounding your nose. I don't do any of that shit, George. I do all my own shit. Fuck you, George.
Oh no, you don't know anything about me. You don't know the first thing. Do you think I am honest? Do you believe that I am honestly scared of you? Oh, I mean, I am Jorge from Quebec. I just wanted to say the press conference, I thought GSP, Georges St-Pierre, I thought he did a good job. I thought he presented his points very well. I thought he won that debate hands down. This Nick Diaz, he is an uneducated fool. And
fuck you, George! I ain't stupid! Fuck you, George!
Oh, I knew you would be there, you son of a bitch. Oh, you forced me to reveal, yes, this is George St-Pierre, you son of a bitch, Nick Diaz. You're not going to believe what I'm going to unleash on you in the cage. In the cage, you're not going to be saying, yo, oh me. The 209. What? You're going to be saying, "Oh no, George, I give up, I surrender." What do you have to say about that? You son of a bitch.
Man, I'm driving around my own fucking hood, and this lady pulls up, this fucking soccer mom pulls up, saying shit like, "Fuck you, Diaz, George is gonna beat your ass. I ain't got anybody rooting for me, goddammit. Fuck you, George, pampered ass bitch, I respect you. Fuck you. You ain't got shit."
Oh, there you go. You sound very intelligent now, Nick Diaz. But we will see how intelligent you are when it comes to striking, when it comes to the takedown. The sparring, or excuse me, we are going to be in that clinch. What are you going to do when you know who? I just want to say I come out there all the time. I put my health on the line. Now I'm going to put the belt on the line. Nick Diaz, you are a joke. Nobody likes you. Go home. Go home.
You don't know shit, George. You ain't dark like Nick Diaz. I'm dark, George. You ain't dark.
Oh, you don't know anything about the darkness in my head. You don't have any idea how dark I can be. You have no idea. Just today, right now, guess what I'm doing right now?
What, bitch?
Right now, I am smoking a cigar, looking at a dead baby. How about that? How dark is that for you? That's what I do in my spare time when I'm not training. What do you do? Sit there and play the video games? Guess what? I am separating the hookers from their families. That's what I'm doing. I'm running a business here. I've got passive income. You would not know anything about that, Nick Diaz. And I apologize to all my fans for being so dark in my head. But this guy, he's unbelievable. Nick Diaz has me fired up. Buy my pay-per-view. I will leave just saying that. Nick Diaz, fuck you, everything. You old sacred. You son of a bitch. GSP, Jorge from Quebec, out.
That's some fucked up shit, George. And I guess our caller from Canada logged off.
That was fucked up, man.
Jorge from Quebec. Yeah, it was a blocked number too.
It sounded exactly like GSP, dude. That was nuts.
Yeah, that was odd. But Yao. I guess you listened into the conference call. What did you think about that clash between Nick Diaz and GSP?
You know, I liked it. I did. I really enjoyed listening to it. I was getting a little bit angry about the things Nick Diaz was saying. Like, okay, you know George is the number one guy in welterweight. He's going to have things that you don't have. That doesn't mean you just bash him continuously. And the thing about the soccer mom, that was a little funny, but it wasn't at the same time. But the whole conference call, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed listening to it. I liked how, I didn't like how nobody was really asking either Carlos Condit or anybody else on the call many questions, but that was really because George and Nick were just going at it. But I like it. It builds up the fight. This is what people like. They like trash talk. They like arguments. It's going to make the fight more exciting. Can't wait to see GSP win.
Yeah, a lot of great bits from that. Diaz saying, "I'm not stupid, George," and then when George started talking, like, "Yeah, that's nice, George. That's nice, George." Lots of fun listening to that. But a issue I wanted to get to before we talk about the fight announcements at UFC 161 and 162 is that Nick Diaz saying he's up for potential moves to middleweight and lightweight. Before we talk about whether he should do it or not, first I want to talk about should he even be talking about it. He has a title fight at welterweight a week and a half away, and he's already talking about moving to middleweight or lightweight. our people on the round table were all, saying, oh, it was taken out of context. They only asked if he would do it if he won the championship and for super fights. It's being taken out of context. If he's talking about moving around weight classes before a title shot at his weight class, where he's not even the champion, I think it's a little premature. Yeah, what do you think? Is it something he should be talking about, or if he's asked? Nick Diaz is a brutally honest person. He obviously was being honest, but a few people raised their eyebrows when he's talking about moving up or down a weight class, literally like 9 days before he's going to fight for the title at 170. You with us, Yao?
Yes,
yeah,
I am.
There you are.
Well, I don't want to say that he shouldn't be talking about moving up or down in weight class, but I don't think it's a good idea. I don't want to say he shouldn't. But, hey, if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. As you heard on the conference call, George, he really made it clear that he does not look past any opponent, and that's the thing. That's the mistake guys make, and it's true. So Nick can do whatever he wants. I mean, he's his own man. But is it a smart idea? I don't think so, especially when you're facing a guy like George St-Pierre.
What do you think, Ali?
All right, well, I just thought about this question. I have a different question. I'm gonna hit you guys with it. Where do you think if Nick Diaz beats GSP, where does that put GSP? With everything, Anderson Silva, all the guys who want to fight him, where does that put GSP?
You mean like where does it put GSP as far as like who's the pound for pound best?
This period, pound for pound best, marketability, all that.
Ramses, I'll let you answer that first.
Yeah, as soon as GSP loses, it's all fucking over for him. He's going to go exactly where he deserves to be. I don't believe that GSP is back. That fight against Condit was bullshit. GSP looked like bullshit. He fought like an asshole. I didn't see anything from him that was threatening or, that seemed dominating or whatsoever for that weight class. No way, man. That's not going to hold up against a guy like a Johnny Hendricks. Is just going to punch this guy, and then you'll never hear about GSP being the greatest of all time ever again. You'll never hear.
You think he's going to beat Nick Diaz though?
Yeah, because well, I think it's going to be work, guys. I think Nick Diaz, the reason he's talking about switching weight classes is because he's already thought about it, because he's already thinking about losing to GSP, probably because he got that visit, that knock on his door, and they tell you, look, kid, this is the way it's actually going to happen, all right? You want to be set for life, or you want to be champion, and then we'll just run your ass out of here as soon as we can, pay you shit. That's what happens, guys. GSP will probably win, but he is a bum, and that is the truth. That's the truth here.
All right, so if GSP does beat Nick Diaz, then where does that put him as far as being the pound-for-pound best, and where does it put him, as far as being marketable? I think in both categories he's number 2 to Anderson Silva. In that fight doesn't really change anything. GSP came back from his injury, defeated Carlos Condit, who was in pretty much everybody's pound-for-pound top 10, looked excellent defeating him. Definitely had a scare in the 3rd or 4th round there, but still won the fight 49-46. GSP, he's the second best, and he's going to need to do a lot more than beat Nick Diaz to surpass Anderson Silva for number 1. The only thing he really can do is beat Anderson Silva in a super fight, which we might see this year or next year. But Ramses, if GSP does beat Nick Diaz, where is he in the conversation of pound-for-pound best and overall marketability?
That pound-for-pound list doesn't have Chael Sonnen on it, so that thing's a fucking fantasy. It's a fabrication. It's a fugazi list, all right? It's bullshit.
No. It can be on yours. It doesn't mean the entire thing's fucked up. But where is he on yours? Is he third? Is he second behind Chael?
No, man, he's not even in the top 10, man. GSP sucks. I believe that with all my heart. I believe that I could beat his ass in a street fight myself, personally. All right, that's how much credit I give this fool.
You should start calling him out like Eddie Sanchez, even though I guess he wouldn't see your tweets.
Yeah, as soon as my knee heals up, man, there's gonna be some thug jitsu unleashed on the world like nobody's ever seen. I'm gonna give everybody a war they won't believe, Rambo style. You know what I'm saying? But GSP, I don't believe he's a top 10 fighter in the world at all. I think he's just been hand-fed his opponents. People have been taking dives left and right to him, just like with Anderson. Same story. That pound-for-pound list is bullshit fabrication. BS list. Fuck that. Chael Sonnen, number one fighter in the entire world, still undefeated and undisputed.
You may as well end everything you say with that last quote. But, yeah, I'll pass it along to you. You know, if GSP beats Diaz, where does he go in both, you know, your actual pound for pound and as far as him being marketable? And it's something we've never really talked about much on the podcast about how marketable someone is. I'm glad you brought it up, though, because, you know, there's definitely something in being a marketable fighter. Chael Sonnen is an extremely marketable fighter. That's why we're seeing crazy ratings. Brock Lesnar was an extremely marketable fighter. Ronda Rousey, you know, she's extremely marketable. What it really takes, though, to be super marketable is skill. People got to come out and see your fights, and GSP does have a lot of widespread. What's the word I'm looking for? People know who he is. He's been on SportsCenter ads. You know, people are familiar with him, like they are with Ronda Rousey, like people are starting to get with John Jones and Anderson Silva. But yeah, where do you put GSP in those lists, yo? You with us, yo? You clearing that?
Yes, I am.
There he is.
I am. Sorry about that. GSP in the pound for pound rankings.
Yeah.
I see him as number 2. Well, excuse me. In my own, I see him as number 1. But in the overall rating, I think he should be number 2. I don't see why John Jones is number 2. I mean, only because after GSP's layoff, then they decided to put John Jones up there. But I see him as number 2. I do, and he's a very marketable guy. If you look at him, he's great for the children. That's what it is. He's a great role model for the children, and that's why he's a gentleman. He's a class act. A lot of people think it's fake, it's phony, especially like Nick. But he's a very marketable guy. He's clean cut, well spoken, even though he doesn't speak English that well. Yeah, that's my take on it.
I speak better English than you, Nick Diaz. Looks like we got one more person joining in on the show tonight, and it's actually somebody who is on the Roundtable show, and that is Patrick P. Money Johnson. Calling him up. Are you there, P. Money?
Oh, what is happening, sir?
What's going on, man? Yeah, we actually were just talking about GSP Diaz, talking about GSP. Do you to start off with? Do you think he's the number 2 pound for pound fighter in the world?
Right now, no. You know what? I'd put John Jones right there. Honestly, what John Jones has done at 205 pounds, I'd say is probably a lot more impressive than what GSP has done. I mean, I hold GSP in high regard. He's got a record that's immaculate. He's only got 2 losses, and he came back and he fucking trounced the 2 people that beat him. Really bitched him up, to be quite frank. And, you know, he's a good fighter. But John Jones, he's on my number 2 list right now. I mean, just destroying champion over champion. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, is it something, does it really factor in a lot to have finishes on your record over just 5-round, 25-minute judge decisions going 50-45 in your favor? Because you can dominate the shit out of a fight, bell to bell, 25 minutes, just grapple fuck the hell out of anybody, and, you know, like GSP did versus Hardy, Alves, the list goes on. Is it more impressive, and does it get you like better esteem on the pound for pound rankings to finish fights? I guess I'll keep it with you, Patrick.
You know what? I would say it does. Both have their merits. The decision and the finish. I do think that the finish is just more decisive. Look at Anderson Silva. Why is he known? If not for the opponents he's faced, it's the way he's fucking destroyed everybody. He finishes people. He makes people look foolish, just like John Jones. I mean, hell, the one fight he looked the most in trouble, if you could say that, was against Lyoto Machida, and he came back and he savaged him. He scarred him up, choked him lifeless, unconscious in the ring. GSP, he's good at what he does. He outboxes the wrestlers and he out-wrestles the strikers. That's what he does. That's why he's the champion. But I like Anderson and John Jones better for their finishes, and I do find them more impressive as fighters.
Yeah, and what's kind of funny, the last few years, I would say the welterweight division has been a more stacked crowd than the welterweight. The welterweights, as far as the welterweights have had better fighters, but for some reason, you look at the people John Jones has fought and won his belt against. What's the word? I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Moving on, thinking of the people who John Jones has beat to retain his title, I feel like he's beat more legends. He's beat Machida, Shogun, Rampage. Who else has he beat? I feel like I'm leaving a couple fights out. Belfort, Rampage, Shogun, Machida. Who else has he beat? Rashad. Yeah, he's. I feel like that list of fighters is a little bit more impressive than GSP. He's fought a lot of people, but it's people like Koscheck. I don't know if Koscheck, who else has he fought? I'm a blanking, but Ali, you brought it up as far as GSP's pound for pound ranking. Do you think he's number 2? Do you have John Jones first? What do you think about the pound for pound ranks? I think we all agree that Anderson Silva would be number 1. But as far as GSP goes on that list, what are you seeing?
John Jones is my favorite fighter. He's my hero. But yeah, I have him ahead of GSP just because the guys he's beat, and the only reason is because though GSP has that great record, right? It's usually this unanimous decision. Silva and Jones, they finish guys. For me, with GSP, if he has to be number 1, he has to be Hendricks, he has to be Diaz, he has to be possibly Marquardt, and then I think he should fight Silva. That's my idea. And then with Jones, they talking about him going to heavyweight. I'm like, whoa, fighting Daniel Cormier. I think he should go to heavyweight a couple times, like how Silva moves up, beats those chumps, have a super fight with Silva, to end his career. There you go.
Yeah, and I have the list up now. GSP, the people he's beat: Fitch, BJ Penn, Alves, Hardy, Koscheck, Shields, and Condit. You do have a couple really impressive wins on there. I think the Condit fight stands out. The Penn fight and the Fitch fight, I guess, stand out. But that stretch of Alves, Hardy, Koscheck, and Shields, I don't really know about that. I think, you have John Jones, who I believe has defended his belt 4 times now. Yeah, against Jackson, Machida, Evans, and Belfort. I think that's a more impressive list. That's a historic MMA list of good fighters. I think all 4 of those fighters will stand out to us long term historically. But I do have GSP number 2 just simply because he's defended the title 8 times. John Jones has only done it 4 times. I love John Jones. I think he's going to have an amazing career in the UFC. The dude's only 25 years old. And he's only held the belt. I think he won the belt a little less than 2 years ago, so he hasn't even had the belt for 2 years. GSP's been holding on to that belt since 2008. He's coming on 5 years with the belt, and he's had it since UFC 83. I think he's going to retain it at UFC 158. It's really interesting. We're seeing the 2 best title runs in the UFC simultaneously in in two divisions that are right next to each other, 15 pounds apart, in Anderson Silva and George St-Pierre, and that's why this super fight between the two of them is really kind of inevitable as far as how we look at them historically. This is a kind of interesting topic I want to stay on, because I feel like we touch it on a lot of podcasts but don't really go too deep into it. Ramses, I know you call out the pound for pound list a lot. Just assume, we all know Sonnen's your number one. Try and take him out of it. But as far as the pound for pound thing goes, do you put GSP above John Jones because he's defended the title more often, he's had it more than twice as long? Or does Jones, I know Jones isn't exactly on your good list now because your boy Sonnen's about to fight him, but does Jones get credit for finishing all those fights?
John Jones is slightly ahead. If I had to entertain the pound for pound list, John Jones is slightly ahead of GSP just because he's willing to face Chael Sonnen. Okay? So maybe John Jones would be like a 7 or 8. GSP's is probably at the 10 slot for me. And John Jones, man, he barely makes the list, to tell you the truth. I don't think he's ever faced anybody in their prime as of late. You know what I'm saying? Shogun was done. Who else did he fucking fight? Didn't he fight Ryan Bader or something like that? And then you saw him with Rashad Evans. Jesus Christ, that was a sparring match, if we've ever seen one. I dare anybody right now listening to go and try to watch all 5 rounds of John Jones versus Rashad Evans. You'll never do it. You'll never make it through. You can't. That fight was garbage. John Jones, I don't believe in him. He throws spinning shit every now and then. He ekes out some wins. So he got lucky against Vitor. He didn't tap for whatever reason. Vitor let go for whatever reason. I don't know about that one. Shit. So he's maybe number 7, number 8 on my list. But he's about to be vanquished and bumped off April 27th at UFC 159.
All right, the last person I guess we got to touch on is Yao. I know GSP's your favorite fighter, like you just said, so we will assume he is your number 2. So I'll ask, of his last 7 fights, 6 have gone to a 5-round unanimous decision. The only one that didn't was that BJ Penn fight, and it would have gone to a unanimous if he hadn't have thrown in the towel. So let's just call it 7 straight 25-minute unanimous decisions. What do you say to the people calling your boy GSP boring? 7 straight title defenses, 7 straight boring ass decisions. He has gotten the last 3 fights in Canada. It's going to be the last 4 with this Nick Diaz fight. So the UFC is throwing him a lot of favor. Obviously, he's one of the greatest fighters in their history. But I guess let us know why you think he's above John Jones and what you say to all the haters calling him boring.
Well, to everybody calling him boring, okay. First of all, let's see you get in the octagon and fight for 25 minutes or even 15 minutes or whatever. But I do believe he's ahead of John Jones. John Jones, he's had 4 title defenses. Okay, whatever. Chael said once Couture and Liddell left the 205 division, it became a revolving door. And he beat them, but GSP has been there since the beginning. Future Hall of Famer, best welterweight in UFC history, great title defenses. So what his fights go the distance. That's equally impressive as finishing somebody. Like the fans, they like to see finishes. Those are like the bloodthirsty guys and whatever. I have no problem watching a fight for 25 minutes. I really don't, especially the way GSP fights it. Like, Chael Sonnen, he'll take you down. He'll do his ground and pound. It's fun. It's nice to watch. But they act like GSP doesn't kickbox. They act like he doesn't wrestle. They just act like he just wrestles, keeps the guy on the ground the whole time. It's not the whole time. And if you really look at what he's doing on the ground, it's not just wrestling. He's going for stuff. He's throwing ground and pound. Like, I don't know, man. That's all I have to say.
Damn. Well, I guess that'll wrap up the pound for pound chat for now, unless anyone has anything to throw in. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I do.
What's up?
Also, I just want to say, as far as George St-Pierre and Anderson Silva, I heard like people saying that George needs to fight Hendricks and all this stuff. He doesn't have to fight Hendricks if he doesn't want to. The only person he needs to beat, if he wants to be considered number one to the world, is Anderson Silva, because Anderson Silva has the number one spot. So if he beats Anderson Silva, yes, he's number one. And I do believe he can beat Anderson Silva. I believe he can stand with him. I believe he can take him down. I believe he can submit him. I believe he can TKO him. I believe he can knock him out. But Anderson can do that to him as well. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, a lot of people say that Anderson Silva would have too much of a size advantage. But if they were fighting at the same weight, Silva is just as tall as Carlos Condit is, and that height advantage for Condit wasn't, it wasn't anything crazy. I think they have the same reach as well. Yeah, that really is the fight everyone wants to see. And even if GSP gets through Hendricks, anybody else at welterweight, he's going to be thought of as number two, just because of how brutal Anderson Silva has won all of his fights. He has more title defenses. He needs to beat the number one to be called number one, and we could see that fight happen. It'll be pretty interesting. 4 fight announcements to talk about down the wire, unless anyone else has anything to add in. Nope. All right, let's hit up the 10 solid seconds of sports, where I talk about all sports other than MMA for 10 seconds, because if I talk about it longer than 10 seconds, people will complain. Jesus Christ, I've had like 2 beers tonight, and I'm burping like a goddamn high schooler. All right, 10 solid seconds of sports. Let's do it, starting now. The World Baseball Classic gets underway as the rest of the MLB prepares for the season of spring training. The Blackhawks and Heat continue their amazing streaks in hockey and basketball, and college basketball gets ready for their conference championship week in March Madness going into this weekend and the following week. Whew. All right. The only other bit of news we have to cover before we put a bow on this bitch and send it out. 4 fight announcements announced this past week. Joe Silva has been doing meth or drinking too much Red Bull, something. We had a shitload of fight announcements. 3 of them for UFC 161, 1 of them for UFC 162, a couple headliners in there as well. We'll start off with a couple light heavyweight bouts. The first one, Shogun Rua taking on Little Nog Rogerio Nogueira, who just had a huge upset against Rashad Evans at UFC 155, 156, I don't know, one of them. Shogun Rua coming off a loss against title contender Alexander Gustafsson. I'll lead it off with Patrick, I guess, because you just called up and then throw it around the round table after you. But what are your thoughts about Shogun Rua and Little Nog? We briefly talked about it on the round table last night, but we were kind of rushing. We had like 5 or 10 minutes to go over all 4 of these fights. So we got another 20-30 minutes to talk about these 4, expound on it a little bit further. But, Shogun, he's always in a war, it seems like. And Little Nog, who just, had a really impressive victory against what seems like a perennial number 2 in the light heavyweight division in Rashad Evans. What do you think of this matchup, and who you got, P-Money?
Damn, this is a real interesting fight. I mean, Shogun, he seems to be just on the way down. I think he's like 3-3 in the UFC. He's been just getting his ass whooped. I mean, John Jones took his fucking soul in that fight. He beat the fucking piss out of him. It was just one of the more savage beatdowns I've ever seen. Gustafsson, he did a pretty good number on him as well. Not near the same caliber, but yeah, he's been getting boxed up. Even Brandon Vera rung his bell a few times. As for who I'm picking in this fight, I mean, Rogerio, yeah, he got the win against Rashad. I thought that was a close fight to call in the beginning, but I mean, I don't know what that was. Neither guy really looked on at that point. I think if the Rogerio that beat the fuck out of Tito Ortiz shows up, if this fight against Rashad was just, knocking off some ring rust from his surgeries or whatever, then he's got a good shot to put a real hurting on Shogun. Rogerio's got that tight boxing. But, if Shogun shows up in any kind of good shape, he's always fucking dangerous. At this point, though, I got to go with Rogerio just because he's looked the less fucked up of the two recently.
True that. What are you thinking about Shogun versus Little Nog?
Shogun and Little Nog. I didn't want this to happen. I wanted Rashad to fight Shogun because that's the fight that Rashad wanted. But I want to see Shogun knock out Little Nog. I'm mad that he upset Rashad Evans, so I want to see him get knocked out. Simple.
Damn, looking for some revenge. Ali, what are you thinking about this match?
Ali is no longer with us, so I will step in.
He dropped out.
His phone did die. He sent me a Twitter message. But thank you, Ali, for calling in.
I will tweet him out. Yeah, what do you think, Ramses?
Well, you're not going to like it if you're a fan of Nog or Shogun because this fight to me is ridiculous. These guys are done, in my opinion. They came out, they were gassed out from the walkout. They fought like it was The Walking Dead. It was total bullshit, their last fights. Each of their last fights was nonsense to watch. You remember that Rashad patty cake with Nog, man? That was ridiculous. These guys are still in the UFC? It blows my mind. Look, the fact is, this fight would have been exciting 3 years ago, all right? They missed it by that much, all right? Because now these guys are just, they've blown it all away. They got nothing left. They're just names. That's all they got left is their name. They don't have that power. They don't have the excitement. They're not... Jesus Christ. This fight is going to be a bum match. That term, gets thrown around a lot, bum. But nowhere does it apply more than in this case. Sorry, Shogun and Nog fans, but you're not going to be entertained with this one. Expect another 3 rounds of pitter-pattering, some more patty cake, some high fives. It's going to be total Rashad shit going down here. Word
on the street. A few more. Another light heavyweight bout. Dan Hendo. Oh, wait. I actually didn't share my view on that shit. And that really is the most important, right? Oh, shit. Yao, the truth calling in. I guess Yao got knocked off the call somehow. To the group call. Yao, you back with us?
Yeah, my bad. My phone died. I hung up by mistake.
You fucking asshole. That's all good. I was just about to go into my thoughts on UFC 161, Shogun versus Little Nog. If you would have asked me what I thought about this fight a few months ago, I would have said, yeah, Shogun by domination, of course. But, of course, now with Little Nog beating Rashad Evans, it's a little bit different. Little Nog, he seems like somewhat of an enigma. He won a fuckload in a row, won 2 in a row joining the UFC, then lost 2 in a row to Ryan Bader and Phil Davis, who are similar fighters. They're young, powerful wrestlers with decent stand-up, powerful stand-up. And then he beat Tito and Rashad. What I think Shogun's going to be able to do that Tito and Rashad weren't able to do is drag Little Nog into deep waters. Rashad and Tito were both content with just standing around, bobbing around. Literally, there were about 5,000 caught jabs in Evans versus Little Nog. It was insane that they literally... I understand spending the first couple minutes of a fight feeling each other out, but they spent literally the entire fight feeling each other out. There was like 0 damage to either guy. It was a joke of a fight. Shogun isn't going to be in a fight like that. Shogun's going to bring it to you. Shogun is going to be in Little Nog's face. He's going to drag Little Nog into deep waters, and he's going to drown him in the 3rd round by knockout. Let's say 3rd round knockout for Shogun. Another light heavyweight bout, Dan Henderson and Rashad Evans at UFC 161. I guess I'm on a roll, so I'll start this one off. Rashad Evans, like I just mentioned, coming off a loss to Little Nog. He's lost 2 in a row now. Little Nog in that title fight against John Jones. I still think he is an elite fighter at 205 pounds, but I kind of, came up with it while I was talking on last night's roundtable. But this is sort of like the last stand at 205 for either guy. If Henderson loses, he probably retires, honestly. He's 42 years old. You lose 2 in a row, that puts you out of the title picture for at least a couple years. He's not going to make a run at 44 years old. He just lost to Lyoto Machida back just a few weeks ago at UFC 157 in that co-main event. Rashad Evans coming off a loss too. He won't retire, but if he loses 3 in a row at 205, he's talked about a move down to middleweight. He'll probably make that move. So the loser probably won't be at light heavyweight anymore. Rashad Evans and Dan, Evans has spectacular wrestling. He fought Phil Davis, who has great wrestling, and made him look like a fucking chump. I don't know how his wrestling will match up against Dan. I think it'll match up favorably, especially thinking about how Dan lost that fight to Jake Shields. Did not look very good, kind of got grapple fucked. But, I'm going to be rooting for Dan to get that H-bomb, and Rashad, I think, is a guy who might let it happen. He gets really cocky, starts bobbing and weaving, likes to stand up and box with people, and he might get tricked into standing up and boxing with Dan Henderson. And if that happens, we are going to see the second rendition of the stanky leg. Ramses, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Oh man, just when we had bored the listeners with talk about Nog fucking fighting next against another bum, we have to sit here and now we got to pay money to see Dan Henderson versus Rashad Evans. Oh man, how much you gonna take us for, Uncle Dana? This fight right here, I mean, I'm sorry, Jake. Did you even watch these men's last performances? It was a joke. It was absolute bullshit. Both of them looked like garbage. All right. Basically, Dan Henderson had nothing. Rashad Evans had nothing. This is just gonna be a money fight. They're gonna show up just to get paid. These guys are gonna be just whiffing at thin air, patty cake, and everything's gonna be going down except a fight in this fucking match. There's gonna be, like I said yesterday, if you look close, you're gonna see dust coming off of the gloves of these gentlemen. All right, these guys are through. Oh man, this is shaping up to be a card of just a bunch of has-beens here. It should be a cut card. All right, this should be a loser leaves town event here for the UFC. So yeah, I don't want to see this fight. I don't care. These guys are both dead to me. Dan Henderson might win, I guess, if I have to pick. But I'm probably not going to watch this fight. I'm done with him.
Damn. What do you think, Yao?
Well, I'm behind Rashad Evans 100%. I have to be. The only thing I'll be nervous about is Dan Henderson's right or left hand, because Rashad, I will not lie, he does not have a chin. If he gets hit by Dan Henderson, he's going down. So that's the only thing he'll have to be kind of wary about. But other than that, I'm looking forward to the fight. I'm a fan of both guys. I'll be behind Rashad Evans. I see him winning the fight. I do, and not just saying that because I like him or whatever. I think he's faster, he's quicker. He'll employ a better game plan than he did in his last fight, and it should be a good fight.
P Money, what are your thoughts?
Well, we did talk about this a little bit on the round table last night. I mean, I love both. Both are great fighters. You look at both records; both are legends. No, I would say both of them have really good shots at being Hall of Famers, especially Dan Henderson. Rashad Evans is damn close, if not there. But goddamn, Dan Henderson. I mean, that Jake Shields fight, he should have knocked Jake Shields out. I'm a believer that he was injured in that fight. He was old. He's probably about 38, trying to cut weight down to 185. And he still damn near knocked him out within the first 60 seconds of that fight. I thought it was done. You know what? It should have been called anyways. he should have been the Strikeforce middleweight champ as well as the Strikeforce light heavyweight champ, which he became after Fei Zhao. I mean, he knocked out Fedor fucking in the first round in a heavyweight fight. He's a complete fucking gangster. The one legit finish that Fedor has ever suffered is at the hands of Dan Henderson. The dude is knocking on the door of greatest of all time status. I mean, simultaneous Pride middleweight and light heavyweight champion. You could go on and on. It's astounding. Of course, Rashad Evans, he's got a great game, really evolved as a striker since he came on the scene. He's still got the great wrestling credentials. We saw him use it against Thiago Silva, against Rampage. But, you know, if he gets clipped, you know, it's probably nighttime. And Dan Henderson in a 15-minute fight, I mean, let's not forget about the killing, fucking damn near murdered Shogun Rua in the ring when at their battle at UFC 139. That was just that was a bloodletting. I don't give a fuck about the fourth and fifth rounds. Shogun himself said he was just so fucking exhausted from all the blood he lost in the first 3 rounds. He couldn't do shit with what he had with a gassed out Dan Henderson in rounds 4 and 5. Dan Henderson, he's going to come in, he's going to bully his way around, and I think he's going to get that knockout.
Damn, yeah. Dan definitely has the power to do it, and Rashad puts himself out there to get knocked out. Will he get Bispinged? We'll see. Rashad's a little bit quicker, probably a little wiser in the stand-up than Michael Bisping was, at least when he was in that fight. The last UFC 161 fight we'll talk about, which is the fight that's headlining, is Renan Barão against Eddie Wineland. Renan Barão going for the second defense of the interim belt. I can't remember somebody defending an interim belt for the second time. He won the interim belt when he fought Uriah Faber in the UFC, another desperate attempt by the UFC to get Uriah Faber a championship. And Renan Barão won against Faber, defended against Michael McDonald, Ramsey's his boy, and now he's defending this interim championship for a second time against Eddie Wineland, friend of the show. We had him on a few months back. We'll definitely try and get him back on before UFC 161, talk to him about, you know, what it's like going into fighting a stud like Renan Barão. But, you know, I guess we'll keep it in the same pattern. Start it off with P-Money, then throw to Yao, then Ramses. Renan Barão, Eddie Wineland, who you got? What do you see going down in this fight?
This is a solid fight. I like it. Eddie Wineland versus Brad Pickett, that was a fucking slugger. That was a great fight. Wineland definitely got a much-deserved win there. And, you know, he's been looking better. His first 2 UFC fights were against Faber and Benavidez. Lost a couple tough decisions, but he was definitely in both of those fights. He's got good boxing. You know, he's got good counter wrestling. He'll use that wrestling to stay on the feet more than anything. And he'll use those hands. He's got some good hands too. We've seen him knock some fools out. And it's going to be a good fight. I don't know if I can pick against Barão, though. Barão's just looked insane. And yeah, it's pretty crazy to think he's defending that interim title for the second time. I think he's going to get the job done here, potentially another finish.
Yo, Yao, what are you seeing in Barão versus Wineland?
That fight, I was a little bit shocked when I heard it would headline a pay-per-view, being that it's an interim title fight, even though they did it with Uriah Faber. But I want to see Renan Barão lose. I'm still pissed off that he beat Uriah Faber back in the summer. Eddie Wineland, to get it done, I really think he needs to put on some mass. If you look at Renan Barão's fight with Michael McDonald, he really, he was able to control him, and because Renan Barão's pretty big for that weight class. So if Eddie Wineland can put on some mass to deal with, the wrestling, I think he can get it done. I want to see him win. So Eddie Wineland.
Oh man, Eddie Wineland. I don't even know who that guy is, to tell you the truth. So he's probably a dead man in my opinion. Renan Barão, I don't really care, but what I do care about is the sadness that I feel in my heart for Dominic Cruz, man, because Renan Barão taking this fight, defending the interim belt again, is gonna pretty much seal the deal. I mean, they're gonna have to strip Cruz. I'm sorry, unless he's ready to fight tomorrow. This is it for him. This is goodbye. This is them moving on. You know, turn the page, next chapter. Sorry, Dominic Cruz, love you to death, son, but you know, man, you got to heal up or something, man. It's time. You got to. And I know they're offering you shortcuts or whatever, you know, some juice, some cocaine, whatever it is, man. Do it. Do it, son. Get back in the ring there, in the cage. We're on the street.
Shit. Well, yeah, you know, the issue with Dominic Cruz is a very sketchy one. You know, in really all of sports, I've never seen such a prolonged and such a freak scale of injury. You know, he's training for his fight against Uriah Faber. You know, this is when he's got to, I think, Dominic Cruz. I'm not going to look up when the last time he fought was, but I know he was training for TUF and was injured in the build-up to that Faber rematch, correct?
That's right, man. That's when it all went down.
Wow, yeah, his last fight was October 2011, and then he was a TUF coach in training. He tears his ACL, gets an ACL replacement surgery, he's out for 9 months. And then it turns out the cadaver ACL put in his knee went bad, and he has to have another ACL replacement, and he's out for another 9 months. If anything else happens, I do agree they should take his belt. Sadly, you know, he is a great fighter. He isn't my favorite, but shit, he's definitely a top 10 pound for pound. He is a great fighter. I really want to see Renan Barão take on 100% Dominic Cruz. That'll be an amazing fight. And as much as I love Eddie Wineland, I'm going to be rooting for him hardcore. I've had Renan Barão. I mean, I've half bragged about it. I've known about him for a while. He's been on my radar way before he was in the UFC. He was tearing Brazil up. He's on this ridiculous win streak. He's been in my top 10 pound for pound a couple years ago when people were like, who the fuck is Renan Barão? And it's making me happy seeing him go through people, even though I don't want to see him beat Wineland because, you know, we've had him on for, I think we had him on 30, 40 minutes. He was a real nice guy. But, you know, if I've got to be honest, I see Renan Barão winning this fight. I don't think he'll finish it. Eddie Wineland, he's durable as shit. You know, he's, you know, in his last 8 fights, he's 6-2. The only losses to Faber and Benavidez, both of those by a decision. So I don't see him getting finished, but I have Renan Barão by a decision. And yeah, finally the last one we're going to talk about before we put a bow on this bitch and send it out into the internets, to the YouTubes, the iTunes. Which, by the way, if you're not subscribed to us on either one, you can go to themmapodcast.com, and up on the top you can see tabs for iTunes, YouTube. Click on either one to get to our channel and subscribe to us. Or you can just go to YouTube, search the MMA Podcast, and we put everything on both, all the shows. We put clips from the interviews when we have people like Ben Askren on, Eddie Wineland, Ian McCall, Chris Lieben, John Anik, Michael Chiavello. We really, really enjoy doing those, and really I love checking my the email, which if you want to email us, it's the MMA Podcast at gmail.com. I love checking the email, seeing we got a few more subscribers every time I check. It's really cool seeing that grow. Yeah, the last topic of the night I wanted to get to, Anderson the Spider Silva taking on Chris Weidman at UFC 162, July 6th in Las Vegas. That's going to be the UFC's July 4th card. Some other fights on the card that have been announced that we're not going to break down. Munoz versus Boach, Thiago Silva versus Rafael Cavalcante, Roger Gracie versus Tim Kennedy, and we got the middleweight championship. Anderson Silva defending his belt against Chris Weidman. The first time he's defended his belt since July 4th of last year, when he had the rematch against Chael Sonnen and won that fight in the second round because of the ill-fated Westland wind-up that we won't talk about because I want to keep Ramses on the air with us. Mm-hmm. Silva versus Weidman. A lot of people are picking Weidman, and it's really surprising the shit out of me. And I know why they are doing it. Weidman has excellent wrestling, and he can put Anderson Silva on his ass just like Chael Sonnen did. Sonnen really kind of showed the world that Anderson Silva's big weakness is his wrestling and his takedown defense. And anyone who says that first Silva-Chael fight, Silva was just goading him into a 5th-round submission, you're kidding. You are absolutely kidding yourself. He got worked for 4 rounds, and that last submission with just a minute to go was literally something sent down from God. I haven't seen anything crazier in my entire life. But Silva showed in both fights, because in the second fight he got put on his ass again in the first round, that his takedown defense is his vulnerability. And Chris Weidman, he's a great wrestler and can capitalize on that. He was a Division I wrestler at Hofstra University. I think, yeah, he was a 2-time NCAA Division I All-American. He's also a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, trains over at the Serra-Longo camp in New Jersey. And he's looked excellent. You know, his last fights against Damian Maia and Mark Munoz, I don't think he looked that impressive in the Maia fight, but that's because he had to cut 10 pounds after taking the fight on like two or 3 days' notice. But a lot of people are picking Weidman against Silva, and the point I was getting to is because Weidman has this great wrestling like Sonnen had, but has the ground and pound too to back it up. I mean, we saw in the Munoz fight, he took Munoz down and just beat the living fuck out of him. I don't think he'll be able to do that to Silva, because getting the space to sort of get into that ground and pound is going to let Silva take advantage of the jiu-jitsu and get out of the guard, sweep you, do something, but not get beat up. You really got to keep it close like Sonnen does, and no one really keeps that close pressure, pounding you down, not standing up to swing away, but just kind of pounding on you while keeping you pinned down on the ground. I don't think Weidman's better at Sonnen than that, and that's really where Sonnen shined against Silva. And I know I'm kind of going on a rant now against Silva versus Weidman, but the thing that I kind of wanted to get to is that I'm surprised so many people are picking Chris Weidman, because Anderson Silva is the greatest fighter of all time. I mean, literally, I want to say a little less than half of the people I know are picking Chris Weidman, and I get it. He has the tools, etc., etc., etc. Anderson's the best. He's defended his belt 11 times. It should have been 12. I think it's 11 times. I'll look it up. But whether it's 11 or 12, it doesn't matter. He has been on top of the game. He's 16-0, 18-0. I really got to look all these up. All right, yeah, he's 16-0 in the UFC, and he's defended his belt 10 times. Should have been 11 because of the time Luter didn't make weight. He's the best. He will destroy Chris Weidman however he wants. I'm guessing a second-round knockout like he usually does. Takes the first round to kind of measure you out like a computer, and the second round he absolutely demolishes you. That fight against Stephan Bonner was amazing, and I'm sorry, Weidman. You know, he is a good fighter, but who has he beaten other than beating the shit out of Mark Munoz? He beat Maia and looked unimpressive. What's his best win after that? Tom Lawler. Who has he beat? Not really anybody, especially because now we don't really know how good Mark Munoz was to begin with. I just don't see Weidman beating Silva. I don't see it happening. He's an 11-1 underdog, I think. Or 2-1 underdog. Wow, that was a huge stretch. Yeah, I think I was just because I was reading the GSP Wikipedia. I saw Sarah was an 11-1 underdog, and that just stuck in my head. He is a 2-1 underdog, pardon me. But still, I have Silva. Ramses, I've been ranting way too long. I'm going to take a deep breath and pound a Coors Light. Not a Bud Light, but a Coors Life. And I might even get on top of my wife for a little while. Go ahead, Ramses.
That was an epic monologue, son. You went on and on like it was the State of the Union address.
Oh shit! It's past 11. Jesus Christ! Everything went red, and I just started literally just word diarrhea was coming out of the mouth.
I hear you, man, but you brought up some good points. But I will keep it short. Chris Weidman versus Anderson Silva. I have the script. It's already been emailed to me for this UFC event, 162, I believe. I have the rough draft of the script. All right, it's got a lot of good exchanges. There's a little verbal smack talk here and there. But apparently in round 3, Mr. Steven Seagal is going to stand up in the crowd and he's going to whistle with both fingers in his mouth. Exactly. And that's going to be the fucking signal. And that's when you're going to see Anderson Silva deliver a flying knee to Chris Weidman's fucking face. And then Weidman's just going to go down. He's going to be like, oh, I can't get up. I'm all hurt. My family. This is worse than that storm that fucked me up.
Wow, Sandy?
Yeah, Sandy, whatever. I was going to say Sabrina. This is worse than Sandy or whatever. And he's going to be all fucked up, coughing up fake blood on the floor. And then they're going to call it TKO.
Hurricane Sabrina would be Hurricane Katrina's, I guess, little cousin. I don't know. Sorry, I interrupted you to make the stupidest joke of all time.
Yeah, that was a bomb. But
I'm high as hell.
Yeah, I got to get there too. And I will recharge right after this. I'll just wrap it up right now because I do need to smoke that weed right now. Weidman is going to go down on a fake technical knockout by Anderson Silva. That's just the way it goes in this business. Anderson Silva doesn't take fights unless they're rigged now. He had to fight Chael Sonnen on the up and up just because he had to. He forced that. Chael had to work his way all the way back up the ladder again. That was ridiculous. But yeah, so Weidman's dead, man. I've already seen the script, but it looks pretty good. I'll probably buy it and watch it or whatever. It sounds like a good one.
Yeah, what do you think's going down with Anderson Silva, who you admitted to being the greatest fighter of all time, taking on the challenger, Chris Weidman?
That fight is going to be ridiculous. I was kind of confused about the fight being put together, but hey, not my decision. Anderson Silva is going to demolish. I don't want to say demolish, but he's going to beat Chris Weidman. If Chris Weidman I don't think Chris Weidman's going to be able to take him down because, all right, yeah, we saw the thing with Chael, but Chris Weidman's way slower than Chael Sonnen. Like, he's not going to move forward, put the pressure, take him down, and beat him up how Chael does. So, speed is going to be an issue. He's going to have to deal with Anderson striking. And if he does get Anderson Silva down, the jiu-jitsu's coming, so.
The jits is coming, son. And I guess for the last talking point of the night before we send it off, we send it back to Palm Springs, California. Patrick Money Johnson. What do you see going down? Silva Weidman, UFC 162.
Well, I'm with you guys. I'm pretty much thinking that Anderson Silva is going to get the knockout in this one. He always does. That's his thing. He destroys people. But you know what? The thing is, Weidman has been super impressive in just about every fight he's had, at least in my eyes. The Damian Maia fight, he cut closer to like 40 pounds. I swear to God, you got to look up those articles because he cut closer to like 40 pounds in about 10 days to fight Damian Maia. And he took him down and he out-grappled him. And now go look and see what Damian Maia is doing at the 170-pound division. He dropped down because of Chris Weidman, pretty much. And Damian Maia's down there out-grappling everybody. Chris Weidman is not just a good wrestler. That's the thing. Anderson Silva, when he fought Damian Maia, he didn't want no part of that ground game. He was not down there grappling it up with Damian Maia. Chris Weidman, he can do that because he will out-grapple you. His wrestling credentials are exquisite. He beat Ryan Bader and he beat Phil Davis, who were at the 205-pound division when they were wrestling in college. And he hasn't even looked like he's been in any trouble. I mean, the Mark Munoz fight, that was a skillful ass whooping. I mean, he was taking his time with that thing. He was doing it right. I mean, I don't remember him getting tagged with but one punch, if that. So, I mean, he definitely, he could do it. Yao brings up some good points. Everybody brings up some good points, especially, Weidman isn't necessarily, he's not the Sonnen type. He's not going to just come forward like running at you. like Chael Sonnen does, because Chael, I mean, he really doesn't give a fuck. He'll just come forward barreling at you. He's not going to get knocked out by you. I don't even consider that second loss to Anderson Silva a true knockout. I mean, you get kneed in the sternum like that, things happen. But he certainly wasn't unconscious. The man's chin is solid gold. We don't know too much about Weidman's chin, but then again, that's to his testament, because it's never been touched in the UFC, and he's been through 5 fights, choking people unconscious, filthy Tom Lawler. That's a solid win. Dude's got a above 500 UFC record, if I'm not mistaken. He's no joke. Chris Weidman comes out and just chokes him unconscious in fucking like less than a minute, like it's the thing to do, because he's got to go fucking eat a meal at the Sizzler or something like that, because he was pissed off for having to cut weight. I don't know. But hey, in the end, like I said, I'll stop with my rant. You got to go with the champ Anderson Silva until proven otherwise. You bet on him 16 times before. He's paid off every time. Why the fuck are you gonna? Why are you gonna mess that up? And if you lose, hey, you're still 16-1 betting on that horse. So yeah, Anderson Silva by I'll say round 1 knockout, because that's just how he does.
Definitely, and the reason I'm kind of hesitant, everyone is on the Weidman train, and I'm all for it. I think he's going to have a great career. He's really young, but if you want to think of yourself as a great fighter, you have to have beaten a lot of elite fighters. I mean, think of a guy like Johnny Hendricks. All right, Johnny Hendricks is coming off knockout victories against Martin Kampmann, John Fitch, Josh Koscheck, all guys who are in the top of the welterweight spot, and that's why he should be getting a title shot. But probably, if he does beat Carlos Condit, will get the title shot. All right, Weidman, people say he's at the top of the division. Let's take one guy out of the loop, Damian Maia. Mark Munoz and Chris Weidman both beat Maia, who he, toward the end of his middleweight career, was not producing at middleweight. That's why he dropped down. He lost 2 of 3. His only win was against Jorge Santiago. Loses to Munoz, beats Santiago, loses to Weidman, drops down. So he, sort of by dropping down, admitted he wasn't doing his best at 185. All right, Weidman. Who has he beaten other than Maia? All right, Munoz. Like we mentioned, who has Munoz beaten other than Maia? Chris Lieben, CB Dalloway. That's it. Those aren't top guys. I'm sorry. Who has Weidman beaten other than Maia and Munoz? Lawler, Jesse Bongfeld, Alessio Sakara. He did beat Uriah Hall at Ring of Combat 31, which I guess I'll put in his favor, but that was a few years ago. I guess before we send it off, let me talk really quick about Weidman. Ramses, do you think he deserves his top billing in the middleweight division over guys like, Belfort, Rockhold?
Yeah, he deserves it, but look, they're just going to give this guy the fucking Johnny Hendricks treatment times 1,000, all right? Look, people, listen to me really careful here. It's really important that everybody listen to this, okay? Chris Weidman versus Anderson Silva. Yes, Chris Weidman's a great fighter. He can beat Anderson Silva, but they're not going to let him beat Anderson Silva, all right? Listen to me very fucking carefully. The UFC is trying, they're throwing everything at Anderson to sign an 8 to 10 fight contract right now. They want to sign Anderson to fight 8 more times. Do you think they're putting an 8-fight contract in front of Chris Weidman? Nope. Maybe a 3-fighter. So let me just say this. If this were the WWE and Vince McMahon were offering CM Punk an 8-5 fight deal, and then they were offering The Rock 2 fights, 3-fight deal, who the fuck do you think is going to win WrestleMania next year? All right? Do the math, son. It's a business. Word on the street.
Damn, Yao, what do you think?
I don't want to say he doesn't deserve it, and I don't want to say he does, but I don't see why Vitor Belfort wasn't given the title shot. I mean, the way he knocked out Michael Bisping was amazing, but it's fun for the fans. You know, a lot of people want to see it because they know Chris Weidman can take Anderson Silva down. That's like the huge argument now. Oh, you can take him down. Okay, whatever. But that's how I see it.
Yeah, you know, I think if Belfort's loss against Silva wasn't as brutal, he would be getting a shot. But you look at it, out of both GSP and Anderson Silva, who I think have a combined like 18 title defenses, 17, 18. There's only been one guy who a guy has had to defend his title against twice, and that was Silva Sonnen. Look at GSP. He hasn't defended the belt against the same guy twice in 7 title defenses. Silva's only done it once, and that was because Sonnen really challenged him in that first fight. If Belfort does beat Rockhold, he will get the fight, but I think he's got to do a little bit more. You know, that loss to John Jones is still fresh in everyone's head. He needs to get a couple victories in a row before getting that title shot. I guess, for reals this time, the last talking point, Patrick Johnson, you think Chris Weidman deserves that top billing in the middleweight division?
Yeah, I think he does. Do I think he could have taken another fight before this fight? Yeah, that wouldn't have been a bad idea. I'm always for people staying active. If you're the number one contender or alleged number one contender, keep fighting. If you want to be a champion someday, if you want to be the kind of champion that can hold his belt, you got to be able to at least hold the number one contender position down until you get your title shot. If not, you're probably not going to be champion for long if you ever do get that chance. So, yeah, I would have liked to see him take on a Michael Bisping or, a Tim Boach or, whoever you got out in the running in the middleweight division right now. I would have liked to see him take on another fight, maybe someone like an Alan Belcher, Vitor Belfort, but hey, he's got a shot. I say he deserves it. I mean, he's come in. He's 5-0 in the UFC. He's only fucking 9-0 in his MMA career. He's got some good credentials. He's got some good skills. And he hasn't even looked like he's ever been in trouble in the UFC. So, yeah, I say he deserves it.
For sure. And with that, thank you so much, Yao and Patrick, for calling in. Thank you to the listeners for listening in, you guys. I mean, we have fun doing it, but it's awesome, the support we've gotten. Thank you for listening to us on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. We come out with a roundtable every Thursday, and this show, the MMA Podcast, every Friday. Follow our callers, Yao the Truth, on Twitter. That's Yao, YAO _ the Truth. All, Yao _ the Truth, 0 spaces, obviously. TheTruth. Patrick is Sweet Pappy Jones on Twitter, SweetPappyJones. And of course, Ramses is The Aunt Jimmy Show, TheAntGimmyShow. Visit us, the MMA Podcast, all one word, themmapodcast.com. On Twitter, the MMA Podcast. Our roundtable show, which is this show, MMA Mental, Word on the Street. We usually got 5 or 6 of us every Thursday, 7 to 9 Eastern, 4 to 6 Pacific, 12 to 2 a.m. if you're in the UK. We got a couple guys on the roundtable from the UK, so maybe we got some spillover people listening to this. Patrick, you all are doing huge things with MMA Mental. Let us know what's going on over there.
Yeah, no doubt. We had another good show today. We talked to Tara LaRosa. We talked to Danielo Villafort. We talked to up-and-coming fighter Mike King. We just talked to the recently signed UFC fighter Soa Paolele. Had a good little show. Check for that at MMAmetal.com. Get all your news there. It's the fucking place to be.
MMAmetal.com. Follow them on Twitter as well, MMA Mental. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, I mean, shit, they're getting press passes to the fucking UFC. Need I say more? They're making moves. Getting press, passes to Bama, World Series of Fighting. They're fucking going up and up. We don't even need to shout them out anymore because they don't need it. Ramses, what's the word on the street?
Follow the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter, or else you're probably gonna wake up dead tomorrow. Word on the street.
Shit, that is the word on the street. And like I mentioned before, yeah, the truth is on Twitter as well. This show, the MMA Podcast, every Friday night, 9 to 11 Eastern. We went to 11:17 tonight. We did a little spillover. We had people call in. We love you calling in. If you are listening and ever want to call in, go ahead and save the number. It's 213-457-3380. And when I just realized I had to renew it earlier in the show, I renewed it for a year. So we're going to be doing this shit for a while, ladies and gentlemen. You can Skype us, the MMA Podcast, all one word. Definitely follow us on Twitter so you know when we're going live, but these times, we usually stick to them. We might go a few minutes later if someone's got to rip the bong a few times. This show Friday, 9 to 11 Eastern, we really love doing it. We're going to have some guests on in the future. We're going to hit up Joey Diaz. I wanted to leave him alone for a while because he just had a kid, but it's a few months old. We can give him shit now, see if he wants to come on the show, along with fighters. We're always getting new people on. Like I said a million times, we really appreciate you listening. We appreciate the support. Keep it coming. We're going to keep these coming for a while. We enjoy the shit out of doing it. We enjoy the shit out of breaking down MMA, and we enjoy the shit out of you. So for the Truth, Ramsey's Word on the Street, Patrick P. Money, and myself, till next week, be gone.